Yo, yo, yo. Good morning, everyone. Week 6 is upon us. Week 5 was crazy. We went from week 4, which was like a complete dud and all contrarian plays blowing up, to week 5, when if you didn't own 5 or 6 of these studs that went off for 40 plus points, you're pretty much dead in the water. So we had a couple cash lineups that scored about 188 to 192 points, and many of those did not cash last week, which was crazy. So that was actually one of the highest, I think that was actually the highest scoring week in DraftKings history. So bit of an outlier, not too worried about that. We're going to move forward today. So I got a couple cash game lineups. We're going to go over a few just general plays that I like, and we'll go from there. So first cash game lineup right now, guys. We got 2 builds this week. So my favorite cash game quarterback is Gardner Minshew at 5K on DraftKings. My second favorite cash game play is Matt Ryan, and I believe he is 6,400 on Kings. So we have 2 cash lineups utilizing one of those quarterbacks each. So the first one, Gardner Minshew, Nick Chubb. It's going to be a Chubb game, all right? The Browns know that they should know, and if they do not figure it out this week, then I'm going to lose my fucking mind completely. The offense has to run through Nick Chubb. They cannot spread it out and put Baker in 5 and 7 step drops and try to protect this guy with these these long developing routes. They got to get the ball out of his hand. They need to get Chubb going. They need to utilize play action and take some heat off of this offensive line and off Baker. Get him some quick passes over the middle. But Chubb, I think, he's one of the top 3 running backs in the league. He may be the best running back in the league right now. I know it's a bold call. I'm not trying to be a homer with that, but just watch this guy play. I think he's got sub 4.3 speed. His running is decisive. I just love this guy. They got to get him the ball. I cannot believe what's gone down so far. So we're going to run Chubb today. I think this is a great smash spot for Chubb. Second running back, Leonard Fournette. The guy has been an absolute workhorse. Now, with this, I understand, and I've gone back and forth with this, that we have Gardner Minshew and Fournette, kind of a game stack and a cash game. It's not ideal to do this most of the time. Now, when value presents itself, then we can roll with it, and that's kind of what I'm doing right here. But you could just as easily in this spot swap in Mark Ingram, who is 100 cheaper in the salary, and I think that would be a fine play as well. We will talk a little bit about Mark Ingram in the second lineup there. So we got Minshew, Chubb, Fournette, Mike Thomas. I missed the boat with you guys on him last week. That was completely an oversight. Got to plug him in. He needs to be a core cash game play going forward, especially when he's priced. I mean, he's priced upper tier, 7,800, but he's still, I think he's averaging like a titty and 100 yards a game, something crazy right now. Let's see what he is averaging here. Let me pull up the lineup. So Mike Thomas is averaging 20, we round up here, 25 DraftKings points a game. The dude's balling out. Plug and play. We got to roll with him. Second wide receiver, my favorite guy in the world, Cooper Kupp. I love this guy. Jai, I'm so pissed that you have him over me. And I don't even care if he torches me today in PCCF, because I have him in another league and he's going to be in a ton of my lineups. So I don't even care. I love you, Cooper. Keep doing you, baby. Third wide receiver, Mohamed Sanu. Sanu is priced at 4,500 this week. He is probably my favorite value play across the slate. Sanu is a slot receiver, and slot receivers absolutely torch Arizona. Everyone is going to be on Austin Hooper this week at tight end. He's a fade for me for the most part. Kind of punted tight end and defense again this week in both cash lineups like we have been doing, and I love that strategy, so we can pay up at wide receiver and running back, and we can get just an awesome floor. So that leads us to the tight end spot. We're going with Gerald Everett, 3,600. The guy is getting a ton of snaps per game, and he's running like 80 or 90%. Snaps, he blew up last week. We're not expecting that production, but I do expect him 4 or 5 catches, 50 yards with titty upside. And that's all we really want from our tight end when we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel there so we can load up at every other position. In our flex spot, we're putting in Chris Carson. Loving Chris Carson. He's getting great usage. He's getting receptions as well. Caught a game-deciding touchdown last week. Love the matchup as well. Browns are stout, but the Seahawks are going to feed Carson. And I think he can also torch the Browns with pass catches out of the backfield there, which I think they're going to utilize. I do see this game being kind of a slower paced game, and I think Lockett's going to get loose downfield for a big touchdown from Russ. We'll talk about Lockett here in a second as well. But really loving Chris Carson today. It's one of my top 3 running back plays for the slate. And for defense, we are going full punt mode this week. We are taking the lowest priced New York Jets. Now, before everybody loses their fucking minds on this, listen to me. They're priced at $1,500, bottom of the barrel. All we need from them is like 4 or 5 points, and we're good. Their defense is not as bad as their team is, as they appear to be, I should say. They get Darnold back today. Double check that, but I do believe Darnold's playing. I think they're going to come out playing a little angry, storylines, this, that, and the other. But their defense has always been pretty solid the past few years. I think they are still solid. They are averaging, let's see what they're averaging here. Let me pull them up real quick. They are averaging 10.8 fantasy points per game on DraftKings. We don't even need that. But if we get 10 points from them today, we are loving life. I mean, that is insane. I'm looking at more between, like I said, 5-6 points. I think we're good. That's a couple sacks. Don't get completely blown out of the water. Maybe turn Dak over once. That's a 4 or 5 point defensive game. So I like that. Now, this obviously could backfire a little bit, but I don't think they're going to go negative. Even if we get 0 points from them, we've punted the position there, and we've really not paid much for it. But I think they're going to return value. So, recap. Cash lineup 1, Gardner Minshew, Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, Mike Thomas, Cooper Kupp, Mohamed Sanu, Gerald Everett, Chris Carson, Jets D. All right? Second lineup. This is our Matt Ryan build here. So Matt Ryan's floor this year is 300 passing yards. That is an insane floor. The Falcons are not good. I did not draft Matt Ryan to stack him with Julio thinking that they were going to be this bad. But I think it may actually end up being a good thing because they're going to be playing from behind a lot. And Matty Ice is having to sling it. So love Matty Ice this week. He's my favorite QB across the slate if you're paying up for it. So he's 6,400. We're rolling him out. First running back, we're going to go bottom of the barrel and take the free square that's been offered to us, which is Malcolm Brown. We know Gurley's out. Malcolm Brown, I don't think he's that good, but he does have, obviously, red zone and goal line rushing upside, and I think he's going to get a lot of work today. It's between Malcolm Brown and Adrian Peterson this week as far as your value running back. Malcolm Brown's 4,300. AP's 4,500. Just went with the better team with this pick here. I think you can still fit AP into this lineup. We can work it in there if you would rather run out AP as opposed to Malcolm Brown. I get it. I have AP in a few lineups. You have to. Dude's, I don't think he's really good anymore, but he's pissed. He hasn't been getting the rock. New head coach for the Skins, Callahan, saying that he wants to run the rock, and I think AP's frothing at the opportunity. So can't look over that, especially when he's priced at $4,500. But in this build, we're doing Malcolm Brown. All right. Second running back, Chris Carson. We just talked about Carson. Great spot, great smash spot for him as well. Then we got Mike Thomas, Cooper Kupp again. We talked about them. Going to be a nasty combo there. And we're going to throw in that third wide receiver spot, one of either Tyler Lockett or Larry Fitz. I like Larry Fitz. I like them pretty much evenly. Obviously, Lockett has more touchdown upside. I'm not crazy about game stacking Lockett with Carson in case some shit goes crazy and the game's like a 10-7 stinker. I think also implied point totals for our Falcons and Cardinals game. I think the total there is like 51 points, the over under. So the game total there should be a lot higher. It should be more scoring. And I don't believe Christian Kirk is going. So that's the case for Larry Fitz right there. For Lockett, we have the crazy touchdown upside. I think 2 of the Browns secondary members are going to be back, but it puts a guy named Carey, who's going to be checking Lockett out of the slot. And apparently this dude is awful as far as the stats are reading. He is a target corner that has been getting torched through 5 weeks. So there's the argument for Lockett. They are priced Lockett 6,400. Larry Fitz is 6,100. Both great prices, and we can work either one of them into this build. Tight end, we're going to go Gerald Everett again for the reasons we talked about, just punting tight end. And then for our flex spot, we're going to roll out Mark Ingram. Now, I could see the case against playing Mark Ingram. He's priced at 6,600. He doesn't catch passes. But I'll counter that point with this. The Bengals are fucking awful. Load up anybody and everybody season long when they're playing Cincy. Running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, have no fear rolling them out. Cincy's going to get rolled in this game. They're going to lose by 2 scores. I think they are an 18.5 point dog. Baltimore is still pissed, I think, from getting throttled by the Browns 2 weeks ago. And I see a big game from Lamar, a big game from Mark Ingram, like one of those 2 or 3 rushing touchdown games. He may only get 70 yards, but he may get 3 titties. And he could go like for 150 yards and 3 titties. I mean, because since he's that bad. They are going to sprinkle in some Gus Edwards running, maybe that Justice Hill guy or whatever his name is. But Mark Ingram's still going to get the bulk of the carries, and he's going to get the red zone touches there and goal line touches. And our defense, again, we're punting with Jets D like we talked about. So recap, cash game number 2, Matt Ryan, Malcolm Brown or AP, Chris Carson, Mike Thomas, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett or Larry Fitz, Gerald Everett, tight end, Mark Ingram in our flex spot, and Jets D as our punt. All right, so just wanted to go over a few plays that can be applicable for cash, GPP, pretty much just global plays here that I like at each position, kind of top 5, 6 guys. So for QB, we talked about it, Matt Ryan. Gardner Minshew, I would still plug him into some our cash lineups, obviously, but I would plug him into a couple tourney lineups. And you could pair him with D.D. Westbrook or DJ Chark. We'll talk about that scenario in a little bit here in a few seconds. So we got Matt Ryan, Minshew. So Matt Ryan, I also love Deshaun Watson, love Kyler Murray, love Lamar Jackson. They're all relatively priced around the same 6,500-ish area. And then I love Russell Wilson as well. Really chalky, but those are the guys. And then you obviously have to mention Pat Mahomes. He's not going to have 3 down weeks in a row. That game could be a shootout as well. That's also a game that we're targeting. Love Mahomes this week and love Kelsey. Running backs, talked about it. Nick Chubb, talked about Chris Carson, talked about Leonard Fournette, talked about Mark Ingram. Those are my top 4 guys right there. I do like Dalvin Cook. Seemingly bad matchup, but you saw what he did against the Bears when that was also an even worse matchup. And he's getting a lot of pass catches out of the backfield. Should be well over 100 total all-purpose yards today, and he obviously has the titty upside. Derrick Henry, I think he's more of a GPP play this week, but he could have one of those 150-yard churn games with a couple touchdowns. I think Derrick Henry's been playing pretty well. He's getting an insane amount of volume. He's not sexy. He's kind of like Leonard Fournette. They're kind of like the same player. Fournette's catching some passes a little bit more than Derrick Henry, so I guess they're not actually the same, but they do get a ton of volume, and they are workhorse backs. And we talked about our value backs, Malcolm Brown, Adrian Peterson. Take your pick there. I wouldn't play both of them, But if you're looking for saving some salary, go with those guys, or one of those guys, and then pair it with one of the studs that we talked about. Wide receivers. All right, we're going back into the well. I'm just a penchant for pain, I guess, but DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones. These are two of the 3 or 4 best wide receivers in the league, in the entire world. I cannot see Julio staying silent for a third straight week with this just primetime, juicy matchup that we have. And then same thing with DeAndre. Deshaun Watson comes to play big games. So does DeAndre. I look for him to get involved. Could be going bonkers like he did week 1 against the Saints. So love these guys. If you're playing Watson, stacking with Hopkins. If you're playing Ryan, stacking with Julio. I mean, it's a no-brainer. They're cash plays as well, but I just faded both of them and went down in the salary there a little bit with the wide receivers. We talked about Cooper Kupp, Mike Thomas, Tyler Lockett. Back to Mohamed Sanu. He is the value play of the week for me, 4,500. Great matchup. He could be 5, 6, 7 catches, 70-plus yards, and he has titty upside. Arizona cannot cover the slot wide receiver, very similar to them not being able to cover the tight end. That narrative is all over it, but a good pivot away from Austin Hooper this week is Mohamed Sanu. I also love D.D. Westbrook this week. All right. Marshawn Lattimore is likely going to be on Shark. So we don't like that matchup. Lattimore has been playing out of his mind. He has been shutting everybody down, and he just shut down Amari Cooper. He shut down Mike Evans for the goose egg last week. We do not really want a lot of that action. I do have Chark rolling out in a couple lineups, but the pivot play from that's D.D. Westbrook. So if you want a little value receiver, I think it's 5,100. I like that. And then my last value receiver at 5,000 on Kings is Cortland Sutton. Not a great matchup with Tennessee, but the corner that will be guarding Sutton for most of the game from all the reports that I'm seeing, he's been giving up, I think, top 6 passing yards on the season through 5 weeks. So I think it's Malcolm Brown. I think he's lost a step, and Cortland Sutton is young stud, young physical specimen. Obviously, got to worry about Wacko Flacco throwing in the ball and actually getting it there, but Sutton's been producing. I regret that trade, by the way, JP. The rape duck got raped, is what it is. Good move, though. Way to hit accept. Made the right choice. Tight ends. All right, loving Kelsey this week. He's my favorite tight end. You got to pay up for him per usual. I think he's 7,000. Looking for a comeback game. Kelsey's been pretty unlucky. I don't think he's scored yet, and he's getting the targets. Especially, I love Kelsey even more if Tyreek Hill plays. Stretch the field, open up the middle. That's Kelsey's game all day. I look for him to have a crazy game today. That is it's not really a bold prediction, but that is my prediction for today. And he is also going fairly low owned, coming in around 10 or 12% in tourneys is what it looks like. So roll him out if you can fit him in your lineups. Also love for 1,600 less at 5,400. Love Zach Ertz. We talked about Austin Hooper. He's going to be the chalk play of the week. For me, for the most part, he's kind of a fade. We know what's going on with Arizona, but I mean, I have Hooper in a couple lineups, but he's so chalky, and I would just rather pay up for Kelsey or pivot to play Ertz, or my third pick here, my third favorite tight end of the week. As long as he's playing, check the status. I think he's fine. I think he's expected to play. His foot's okay. That was off the report. Now it's an alleged shoulder injury, but he's been limited practice the past 2 days. It's Mark Andrews, 4,800. Everybody's off this guy. Everybody's forgotten about him. He's getting 8 targets a game. That's insane. 4,800. Touchdown upside. And who's he playing? Like we talked about, he's playing the Bengals. Play your guys versus Cincy. So if Mark Andrews is on, that is probably my favorite tight end play of the week with pricing and everything included there. So it's 4,800, great value. And we talked about Gerald Everett. Not expecting a ton from this guy, but he's priced well, and it serves as the best tight end punt if we're punting the position there to load up at other spots. Now, I got 2 defenses this week, basically. I'm playing a little bit more than that. I'm playing probably 5, but these are the main ones. Cash games we talked about is the Jets. My favorite tourney defense this week is actually the 49ers. We saw the pressure that Tampa was able to get on Jared Goff and the Rams. And I think the Niners' front four may be the best in the league, and their front seven is they are like a top 5 D. So I think they're going to get pressure. They're fairly minimum priced at 2,700. I think they're averaging 10 points a game. Let's pull them up real quick. They are averaging 15 points a game. Now, they've had 2 big blow-up games, so we're not even looking for 15 here, but they have that upside. They can turn Goff over and make it a really rough day for him. So that's what we're looking at, guys. Good week 6 ahead of us. Think things are going to normalize a little bit. Really liking these lineups. So, Jai, gonna kick your ass today, man. Just saying it. Love you, but even with Cup dropping 40, I think this is a Julio day. He's gonna drop 42 for the win. Love you guys. Peace.